Well, you've probably already seen a little range report we've done on these 2020 model beaters, new generation across the board. Well, they've all got new chassis, new swing arms, tank, new subframes, new pretty much everything, and new engines. This 125 that we're looking at here gets quite a lot of upgrades. The 250-300 get a new counterbalancer, which is significant. Probably stealing the show for the 2020 models of the 4-strokes, which get completely new engines with big changes. We're here with Jared Duffy, bit of a 2-stroke fanatic, never ridden beaters, mate. He got the opportunity to ride 4 models. I guess, let's just sort of start with the start. What was your and why?
I'd have to say the 200. It brings back why I started riding enduro. Coming from motocross background, I started on 200, and ever since I was discontinued from other manufacturers, I've kind of been missing it. Like, I've ridden a lot of 250s and 300s since, and if I was to go out and go to 100 Ks in the bush with everyone, and I don't really want to work myself too hard, I want to be able to make sure I make that whole day and not ride myself silly, I'd probably step up to the 250. But man, jumping back on that 200 was just unreal. Bring back some really good memories.
When you jumped off the 125 on the 200, it felt like a 250 in terms of the bottom end and the torque. The other thing is it's got the oil injector and the electric start that the 125 doesn't, so it's got those kind of comforts as well. So what about the 125, mate? How'd you go with that?
The fact you can ride a 125 that's registerable, that comes with everything, straight out of the box is awesome. Like, if you're a junior step, it's a perfect bike. Like, it's unreal. Or if you're someone that's a bit of an old 2-stroke fanatic and you're sick of bogging around on your big bore, like, jump on this and just have a hell of a time.
I know you were always a 250 guy. Did the 300, comparing those two, 250 and 300, which aren't hugely different, but did the 300 lure you back in this time?
It didn't catch me, but you can short shift them, you can just ride that gear. You don't have to be as dancy on the clutch. You can just lug the thing around, and it's got more than enough you're ever going to need, but at the same time, it's not going to be out there ripping your arms off. Like, they've got these bikes super smooth. The way they come jetted straight out of the box is awesome.
Did you try the range curve much? And
I did.
I'm going into bat for the 300 here, mate. Just taking the edge off and just taking that boom off the bottom that the 300 sort of gives you?
Yeah, being able to flick it onto the rain mat with a 300 did make a big difference. And especially in the tight stuff where you kind of coming down a hill into like the one and only rut where you then got to dart back and pop the clutch back out was a lot better, because with a full amount of power, I just come in and I'm a little bit too timid just to get in and pop it out. Where it just took that initial hit away, and it just a lot more manageable power.
And both 250 and 300 with the counterbalancer, I mean, not having that vibration, after we jumped off the 125 and 200 onto those things, it's actually, I don't know, it just makes it feel so much more refined, eh?
It does. It's almost like the best of both worlds. It's not like a fuel injection bike where you don't lose that 2-stroke feel, but it's a lot softer. And then if you jump back to the other end of the spectrum and you have a carb-fed bike without the counterbalancer, they're like really angry. So it's almost like the best of both worlds. You get the oil injection system, which you can go out and do 100 Ks and just rock up to the servo and fill your bike up, but it's still got the can carb that's got that playful feel and reliability, and like, you don't have to play around the jetting, but it's cheap and easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Never having ridden a beater, you probably never would have haven't ridden sax suspension, mate. You've probably heard, on previous models that the sax, particularly in the fork, has let the package down for an otherwise really sort of like race-ready package. What do you think about it today? We're testing the 4-strokes. There's I think 2 or 3 rates firmer in the 4-strokes. 2-stroke lighter, less weight by front because of the engine, etc. 4.2 Newton-millimeter fork. What do you think of it right there?
I really liked it. Like, coming off riding K-Alba and WP, I thought it was 90% of the way there. Like, for 90% of the stuff around the track, and even it outperformed other stuff with off camber and the plushness of it, it was awesome. When you're coming in fast into a rocky creek, or you're dropping down stuff into a big G out, it was a little bit like it didn't have quite the bottoming resistance, but for 90% of the stuff on the track, it was really, really good. And
chassis balance wise, I kind of found with the softer fork compared to the 4-strokes, didn't sit up on the some of the downhill braking, which is pretty gnarly stuff. The average trail rider is probably not going to do that sort of stuff, third, fourth gear downhill. And it wasn't it was bottoming out, but just didn't have the same poise in the chassis that I think the 4-strokes did with that 4.8 fork. But overall, a pretty well balanced package, and where we didn't do any, there's nothing unpredictable, unlike some of the previous versions.
And having the preload adjuster on there was awesome, especially for the 2-stroke, because it did help with that diving down the hills. It stood it back up and it felt a lot more balanced down the hills. and then you come down and do a few S's or whatever, and you never feel the thing squatting or pushing away out of a corner. It just felt balanced and in control.
So you I couldn't convince you with one of those 4 strokes over your 200?
It depends. Like, I'm a 2-stroke diehard and I love it, and I love the fun factor. I'm not out there to win races. I'm there to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to pick a 4-stroke, I'd go the 350 because I like the small bore, but I still reckon the 200.